Well, hello everyone. It's Michelle Maher here, and today I'm joined with Janice Savage. Thank you so much, Janice, for giving me the time to talk about what we are going through and have been going through for a few months now, and keeping a positive mindset and getting creative and pivoting in your business and your life, and as well. So, thank you, Janice. If you want to just give us a few words about who you are and what you're all about.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you so much for inviting me here today. It's a real honor to share what I've been going through and the vision of getting through it. So I have a business. It's called Savvy Concierge, where I'm a professional organizer. And this has given me an opportunity to really reach out and help a lot of people during this challenging time. People have had to, had children move back home. That normally were out of town, and that was for myself also. And so our physical space has suddenly have more people in it in our homes. Our offices, people are no longer able to go to offices, so people's offices became their dining room table or their kitchen table, or maybe someone's lucky enough to have an office, or they made an office. So all these things have caused tremendous upheaval and tremendous stress, and we've had to redefine our priorities. Where are we spending our time now that most of us are spending our time at home? What does that look like? And for each person and each family, it's very, very different.
Yes, definitely it is. For some people, as you say, the children came home to live. Some people had, some of the people I've spoken with who own businesses were already working from home, but all of a sudden they have a spouse coming and working from home. Some have adult children have come back and are working. Some people have children or other family members who are working in as frontline workers. So there's essential workers that have to still go outside of the home.
Right.
Other people working, all the time at home who never worked from home, so who don't necessarily like working from home as well.
Right.
And having to navigate the space, as you say, the physical space where you might have 4 people all at home and everybody needs their space.
Right. And not only do they need their physical space, they need to have the space up here to look at all their new priorities and to actually redefine where they want to spend their time, their energy, their resources, because this is very critical. And as you mentioned, kids being home, kids were doing Zoom by school, no camp this summer for most children. I mean, the upheaval is tremendous in our lives, and then the stress factor. So those are the kinds of things that I personally look at, is like, how can we alleviate some of the stress that we're experiencing, lower our anxiety levels, because what we're experiencing now is our new reality. We don't know what tomorrow will be. We don't know in 6 months if people are really going back to an office. The conversations I've had with many people is they're not going full-time back to an office. So what does that look like for our homes?
Right. And that's the thing too, when this whole when the whole thing started and we were told to stay home and they shut the schools down, it was March break. So right. We already had that week. And then they shut the schools for another 2 weeks after that. I think it was, till April 6th or 3 weeks after that, whatever. So at that point, I think a lot of us thought it's going to be, maybe a month, maybe 6 weeks. And then we would get, because everybody at that point in time was saying, oh, well, when we get back to normal. And now at this point in time, we know there's no such thing as getting back to normal. We're not going back to what we had ever. We're coming up with new ideas and new way of being. But I think because it was a temporary thing, a lot of people came home and, like you say, we're working at the dining room table, or 2 people working at the kitchen island or something like that. And now we realize it's going to become a more of a permanent situation. at least, even like you say with the offices, they're talking about, you know, you'll go back in on a rotating basis.
Right.
Go back in 2-3 days a week, work from home. So that you know, so now everybody's looking at a more sustainable way of being, because it's not a temporary measure anymore.
Absolutely. And just, you know, if we're talking about it and what's going to be open, we don't really know, because we don't know if there's a second wave coming or a third wave or what that will even look like. And I know when I'm talking to my children about school in September, well, my daughter was informed that her university is not planning on any classes
in
person. They're all going to be Zoom classes. Well, that just changes the way education has been perceived, you know, and how it's taught. And that creates a whole different level of, I'll say, stress management, all these kinds of things that people are experiencing. And of course, we know, because we're all living together, is when one person is experiencing stress and we're spending most of our time together, that really connects with everybody. And it's really important then to acknowledge what you're feeling and share what you're going through. And that's really important.
Yeah, definitely. That's so true. And the thing is that we don't, as humans, we always resist change. we like to have everything. We like to know what's happening, and we like to know what's happening tomorrow, the next day. And for a lot of people who are real planners, this was just, you know, the whole loss of control and everything like that, and the uncertainty of the future has really caused a lot of stress for so many people. But on the flip side, the education system, you know, the whole corporate system, the whole way that big business was run, it's so archaic, and it's been, a lot of things have been done like it's always, well, we've always done it that way. And so it continues and continues, and people just keep doing the same thing over and over again. And this has caused, you know, an upset in so many ways. But look at what we can create coming out of this, or coming through it, whatever you want to say.
Yeah, I think it's coming through it. You're right. The status quo has been turned on its head. Things that we assumed would be permanent. You know, you and I just chatted right before this, going out for a cup of coffee. Well, is that something people are going to want to ever do again? How is that supposed, so is everything going to be on Zoom? It's just a lot of uncertainty, which I think you mentioned, and a lot of feeling like loss of control over the things that we felt were certainties. And I think that's where, you know, people need to at times feel that they can hold on to something and feel that there is a way to manage through this. There are ways to get through this that can be really, really positive. One of the things that I talk about is, you know, to organize one small area. Pick one tiny area, whether it's a drawer, the toy chest, the dining room table, whatever it is. Pick one thing and be strategic, because you're looking for success. You want to feel better at the end of it, you know, and look at every item. Is it something you're keeping, something you're donating? Is it for recycling, or is it trash? Make a decision, feel good about it. You can set a timer. I encourage many people to do that. And if you're, you know, if the timer is ringing and you're not finished, well, then that's okay. But the idea is to look for success. Pick something so that you feel that you can manage it. So when you're finished, you can walk away and say, that's done. And we know that one success leads to another. And that's very, very empowering.
True. Yeah, for sure. That is definitely true. And that will give you that, you know, gives you that sense of control as well. You have control over your piece of the environment. And then it just ripple effect, right?
Right. Because when we can make our physical space better or declutter it, then that really, as you say, the ripple effect is that it makes it easier to organize our time and organize our mind, because these three areas are really interconnected. So it's really important to sort of start with what I consider the foundation piece is the physical space. Right. And during this time, another tip that I've been doing personally with my own family is we call it the family chat or the family meetup. And I've encouraged many people to try it, where you let everybody know when there's going to be a meeting with whoever you're living with. And it's a very safe place where you can talk about whatever is on anybody's mind, talking about the uncertainty, the changes, and what there is to celebrate during this period. And it provides everyone with a safe place. And the idea is really coming together as a team, because there's been so much upheaval. You know, your team at work is very different. Your team that you're meeting at the gym, you know, I call it a team, but, you know, whether it's the people you socialize with, whoever that is all changed. So your primary team are the people that you're living with. So I encourage people to strengthen that. And really finding solutions is almost secondary. What's really critical is just coming together and sharing so that you have a safe place. So as things evolve and as new things come up, you know you have a foundation, you have a safe place, you have a team to discuss all the issues that are coming up now.
Right. Yeah, no, that's great. Great tip as well, because there's so many emotions that we've all been going through during this period of time. And it, well, we started at the beginning, I know for myself, with a lot of fear. Yes. And getting through that, it still has been a roller coaster. Even 3 months, almost 4 months later, you can still have that roller coaster effect where something can trigger you to feel down again, where you were feeling positive, and new stresses come up and things like that. As things are changing too, as things are opening up as well, right. People are some people feel more comfortable going out to things that are opening, where other people do not, and don't feel that they should be opening. It's a very difficult environment, really.
No, you're right. And that's why being open and communicating with the people that are on your team, that are around you, is so important. And, and as you were talking, the word that came to my mind was mindset. You know, if you have a positive mindset that, yes, the changes are here, and the changes may be permanent, we don't know, and there's a lot of uncertainty, but we can ride through it by, I'll say, acknowledging it, and really acknowledging it with the attitude of non-perfection. We'll get through it, and it won't be the same, and that's okay. And we'll find new ways of doing the things that need to get done. But I really think it's critical to acknowledge that we're not looking for perfection, and we're not looking for what worked in the past. We really do have to reinvent some new ideas of how to be successful, whether it's at work or with our families.
Right, yeah, exactly. And what we've been given during this period of time is the gift to slow down and actually have time to sit with yourself and be present, and, like you say, communicate with the people in your household, but also it's important for us to take the time for ourselves, because before this, I don't know, like, especially as a mom, you're always running around worrying about everybody else and rushing around, and you never get the time to actually sit with yourself and think about what your values are and what's important to you. And that we've been given the time to figure out what really is important, and the things you were doing before, were they important? Did they serve you well? And what serves you well, and what will serve you well going ahead in the future?
You're right. I think it's a time when a lot of us have sort of taken a big step back and not just looked at our priorities, but looked beyond our priorities. Like, what are our goals? Where do we see ourselves, not just in 2 weeks, a month, 6 months, but in 5 years, 10 years? I know I've done that, is really standing back and really looking at that goals. And then of course, then looking at the priorities. And some of that really means is saying, I don't know. I don't know what's going to be, and I'm okay with that. And I guess that's where the mindset comes in. Is in the past, I think a lot of us have sort of made our priority list and our action plan and are heading straight for it. And now that is not so simple. That's not clear cut anymore. And it's really acknowledging the uncertainty and saying that is the new plan.
Yeah. If you go back to January and all of us set our 2020 goals for the year, and middle of March, those were all just totally gone. Just no more. So much no longer possible. And so, we would always set these goals and things like that, but we have to, like you say, we have to be okay with the fact that we have uncertainty, and think about what's important to you in terms of values and what kind of person you want to be and what kind of world you want to create, and a much bigger picture, I think, as well.
I think you're right.
There's so many things that are possible. It's not, we can't limit ourselves. I think a lot of us would limit ourselves before, and just think of how many things change so quickly with all the businesses and all the offices being shut down, everybody working from home, and sports being shut down, Las Vegas being shut down. Just imagine and see how that happened so quickly. Just think of what we can create on the flip side. So if we spread kindness and compassion and making the world a better place, what we can create going forward.
But you have to be open to that. I think you're right. You really have to be open to say, this is a time of opportunity. But to get to that mindset, I think a lot of us had to get through the worry, the fear, and it still creeps up when I hear that someone else, gets COVID or is very ill, or, someone's business is really failing and they're supporting a family. It's scary. It's, it gets very scary. And at the same time, to be able to stand back and say, this is a time of opportunity. How can I pivot my business? How can I pivot my mindset to say that this is a new time? And I know for me personally in my business, at the beginning of COVID, the clientele that I had, I was, I guess, very lucky. I was working in a number of homes where there was no one present. I was working in homes where someone had passed away, and I was organizing it and decluttering it and packing it up, and there was no one there. So that was wonderful. And then it got very quiet for my business. And as things are opening up, I'm having other opportunities, but also I'm pivoting and looking at, how can I help people on Zoom? How can I do that virtually? So all these things come into play, and how open you are to the new possibilities. So I think you're right. True. I think it comes down to your mindset and acknowledging, though, that it's scary to flip your business to something new. Not everybody can just do that so easily, but there's also a lot of support, and just, the opportunity that you invited me here today to talk about this and have a very honest conversation of what it means to move through this stressful period. That's really important, and I'm sure a lot of people get strength from seeing other people transitioning and knowing that you can actually talk to people about the process of what it means to pivot your business and change what your family looks like, all those dynamics, and to share it is really empowering.
Right, true, yeah. And like you say, there's so many people out there willing to help. There's so much support out there. We're very grateful that we do have this technology, that we are able to connect with people in this manner, and therefore, people are able to some people have been able to easily pivot to online where they were doing in-person services, a lot of
Right.
coaches and things like that. So it's really, we're so, like I say, we're so grateful for the technology. We have the opportunity to create. It's just a matter of thinking in a different it's thinking outside of the box. How can I do this virtually?
Right.
And connect with people virtually, because it's not the same as being in person with at a live event or things like that. It's not the same, and for some businesses it's harder than others, as well, but it's a matter of getting creative and thinking different, and also, and the other thing is there's so many people that you can talk to, like you say, that are willing to help and share experiences, but you can also brainstorm with other business owners. And I've seen a lot of collaborations happening too, where people
so
are
have
working
I.
together.
And it's very empowering, and it does lower our stress level knowing that we really are in this together, separate but together, because most of us have experienced some kind of upheaval. And
Oh, definitely.
yeah,
we all have. I mean, and more, some more than others, because some people, there are also people who have lost their jobs during this period of time too. But at the same time, we can also look back and think, when things like that happen, it usually is one door closing and a new door opening, and always think about the fact that it's creating that capacity for a new opportunity for you. And right now there's so much you can learn online, with so many people offering courses, and YouTube alone, right? Whatever you want to learn, you can learn. So it really gives you the opportunity to figure out what is important to you, but also what are you passionate about, and maybe things that you liked as a kid you haven't done for so long, and explore that.
Right. And you mentioned it's a good time to sort of stop and take stock of who you are as a person and where you see yourself. And you're right. What do you like to do? What do you want to spend your time doing? And for those of us with children at home, there's a lot of role modeling in that. This is a stressful time. How are we getting through this? Well, part of it is just acknowledging and talking about that it's a stressful time, and part of it is, being on Zoom and trying new opportunities and talking to new people and networking and seeing what is out there, what can work for you, and trying something.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Just there's no harm in trying. With all of the technology, there's so much you can explore, and so many people have had to adapt so quickly to learning technology, and like I said, being grateful for it now, where we might have cursed it before.
Yes. Well, look at us today. We would have met for coffee somewhere and had a chat and just, learned about each other and our businesses and what we're facing, and then continued with our day. And here we're both at home in offices. And actually my office is, I've just switched. I was in a small office upstairs that had been a bedroom, and then someone moved out. So I claimed it as a small office. And with children moving back, I am now in a basement. And it is not how I envisioned my office. You can see there's nothing on the wall behind me yet. Right. All these kinds of things, but it's living through it and saying it's okay. It's not perfect. It's not how I envisioned it, but I have a desk, and I actually have a door that I think you can kind of see. And you know what? I'm grateful for that. And it's fantastic, and it's workable.
Right, exactly. And now's the time to start, getting creative in your home and figuring out your physical space that you want to, be working in. Where some people might have had, like we were saying earlier, you just came, working from home, and you went to the dining room table or something like that. Now is the time to sit back and think about the fact, can you maybe make some other space into a, home office or
Right.
little nook or something. The other thing is too, with everybody being at home, you need to have your space at home, like you're a little somewhere that you can be by yourself and get that time to recharge.
Very
as well.
important. Very important. I figure as long as I can throw my yoga mat down somewhere, and close the door, and it's not a permanent place, right? But it's good enough for today. I can manage it, and that's, I think, what's so important is knowing that it's great for today. But you're right. People that are at a dining room table as an office and sort of looking at the future and saying, well, this is the way it's going to be for the next 8 months, you're right, that needs to be revisited, because maybe they're not reaching their capacity in their work because there's a lot of distractions around. So how can that be rejigged or renegotiated with the people around them? And you're right, and it takes a lot of creative thinking. Something as simple as at the end of the business day, put all your stuff in a basket so that it doesn't get lost when other people are coming to a table. Before this Zoom call, I sent out a text on WhatsApp to let everybody know I'm on this, the door's closed, and I'm unavailable because I'm home. So, the idea that we're available just because we're in the same home is no longer true. So it's connecting. It's connecting, it's being respectful, it's talking, it's sharing, it's being open to new ideas. And it's stressful. So what can we do to lower that stress? And everybody's got their ideas, and that's really important. Whether it's yoga, whether it's you're reading a new book, whether it's, like you mentioned, learning something new on on a video, picking a skill that you loved as a kid, gardening, whatever it is to find something and connect with that. That's really important at this time.
Right. Yeah, it is. And so, as you were saying, communication is key. Communication is so important, and setting your boundaries as well. Setting your boundaries, like you say, keeping letting everybody know the door is closed and you're working. And that's the other thing too, for people who are working a corporate job, who are now working from home. It's hard to shut off sometimes. It's hard to quit for the day. I mean, it's something as entrepreneurs, it's hard to shut off in the first place. But for the people who are working corporate jobs, and I know a lot of them would find that they would continue working into the evening. Mm-hmm. Or on the weekends, they might open their laptop and things like that they wouldn't have necessarily done before. So it's really important to set a boundary to, end your day, start your day, end your day, which is, and like you say, maybe put it in a basket or something to symbolize the fact that your work day has ended. Now it's home time. Something like that.
Well, it's about, how you perceive where you want to be, what kind of family life or goals that you have. And then it's allowing yourself to make that a habit. Right. And we know making a habit takes time, but you have to be persistent if that's very important to you. So if sitting down and eating supper right now as a family or who's ever in your home is very important to you, well, then that means, at 6 o'clock or 5:30 or whatever time you decide, you close that laptop. You let people know that, it's the end of my work day. And once it becomes a habit, that has a ripple effect for your whole life. It's setting boundaries and respecting yourself and the people you work with. We're not talking about, there's an emergency at the office. We're not talking about some time-sensitive project.
No.
You do have to work late, because if you were in an office, you would be staying late that night. Exactly. We're talking about how do you envision the next week, and if you want to be at home and enjoy taking a bike ride with your family after supper, then schedule it like a meeting. Turn it into a habit that, you know, after supper for 2 hours, you're going to do something, and maybe you want to check your emails later. I wouldn't encourage that, but there are people that feel that they have to, then do that. But give yourself boundaries and love yourself, like yourself, respect yourself enough to follow them. And it's hard work when, you know, time is, you know, you can be on your computer anytime, anywhere. But I encourage you to set those boundaries, because it's not good for us to be on the computer all day. It's just not. It's not good for us to be working all day. Especially at this time, the personal interaction that you would have had in an office, or getting coffee, or, you know, at the grocery store even, it is not at the same level. It's just not. So people need to be able to connect with one another.
Right. Yeah, no, you're right. And when you say that about the grocery store, exactly, there's no there's no social interaction at the grocery store like there might have been before. It's I know at the beginning it was just all fear, fear, fear. You could just feel everybody's fear and everybody's stress level. It's not the same now, but still, it's not the same as the grocery store was before, or any other store for that matter. So it still doesn't, you know, it's the whole social side of things, and the interactions is a piece that we are we're still missing, really.
Right. So it's, how do you keep that level, or a new level, of social interaction? Because we're social as humans.
Yes.
We're social. That is a big part of our success, if I can make a blanket statement like that. You know, in our businesses, most of us network a lot. In our family life, we spend time with each other, and it's not just in our homes. It's vacations, it's out for dinner, and all that has changed.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it has. So it's all about coming up with new ways of being, and new ways of operating, and looking for the positives out there, and the opportunities, and what we can create.
Yes, and acknowledging that, you know what, it is different, and it's not going to be the same, and it is scary, and there is stress, and that's okay, because this is what we're living through. And not to acknowledge that, and I know we've been through this, you know, it's a couple of months already, but as new information comes out, someone could get scared and nervous again, and the impact on their business, maybe they're only feeling it now. So it's being open to that. And like you said, where can you pivot? Where can you make a change? And it can be something as tiny as talking to your clients or talking to your family. How can you continue to serve them in a new way? I know I've done that, and it's been very, very helpful.
Yeah, and being okay with change, and the fact that change is going to be happening, and going to continue to be happening, as you know, because even as we see things opening up, things are changing. So we just have to be okay with it and acknowledge it, like you said. Don't suppress it. Right. Yeah. All right, well, thank you so much, Janice, for your time. That was great talking to you, and I will put your information underneath this interview when I put it up as well.
Thank you.
So that people can connect with you, and find out more about about what you're doing.
Thank you. This was absolutely a wonderful opportunity. I really enjoyed talking with you and sharing of what we're going through. This has been very beneficial. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, I think it just helps. It helps to share it with everybody, so that everyone realizes that you're not alone with what you're going through. We're all feeling the same emotions and going through the whole emotional roller coaster, and it really helps when we share with each other.
Thank
you so much, and bye everybody for now.
Bye.